And for roll. And then, sorry, Joe, do I need to start over since you just started recording?
Yeah, maybe just announce it one more time.
Sorry about that.
No, I
all
missed it.
right. So I'm calling the meeting to order today. The time is 5:44 p.m. Wednesday, January 19th. And I'm going to take roll call right now. If you are here, please say aye or here. Commissioner Christina Ortiz.
Aye.
Commissioner John Shelton.
Here.
Commissioner and Elder Veronica Corpus-Stacks.
Here.
Commissioner Saeed Hassan.
Aye.
Okay. And then Commissioner Isaac Kavashinsky, Commissioner Elizabeth Kashka, Commissioner Marcus Guggenheim, they're all absent today. Okay. And then the next thing on here is to approve the minutes for the previous meeting, which was on Monday, December 13th. Can I get a motion and a second for that?
Second.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, all not in favor, please say nay.
Sorry,
So-
not saying nay. Who made the second on that? I might have missed it.
Me.
Okay,
Christina.
who initiated it? Sorry. Thank you.
The motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting on December 13th stands approved. And then today we only have one agenda item, so I'm just looking to get that approved, which is to review the what is it called? It's to review the proposal for the housing public hearings. And I believe Joe sent that attachment out to everyone.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Corpus-Stacks.
Second.
Can I get, okay, second by Commissioner Shelton. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All not in favor, please say nay. Okay, motion to approve the agenda stands, excuse me. Yeah, motion to approve the agenda stands approved. Without further ado, I call this meeting today just so that we can review this proposal that Commissioner Shelton and I put together in regards to the public hearings that we discussed previously in our meetings. And we thought putting together a more formal or a more detailed proposal would help us move forward. And it's in regards to housing. And so did everyone receive that proposal?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I wanted to ask of Commissioner Shelton if you wanted to go into a little bit more detail about the proposal for the group, and then we can review and discuss it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that introduction, and thanks everybody for being here. We've kind of talked about this a little before at our previous meetings, but one of the things that both historically and in contemporary times that is an enormous issue of equity, equity in American society, and as there's been a number of media reports about this too. That makes this such a pressing issue now is equal access to housing. And so I think, when Mayor Gingrich appointed us to this commission, I think he was really looking for us to come up with big ideas that would help the city to move forward in a much more equitable way. And so, the reason I think, we should move along these lines is to really get started, digging into this issue that is so important. So, what Commissioner Yang and I, kind of a timeline for doing that, and we wanted to make sure that, we were engaging both, people who are already working on this in the area so that we're not reinventing anything. So that's why, we sort of proposed that we'd start with, kind of professionals and experts for the first couple of meetings. And then we also wanted to hear from people who have experienced issues getting housing. And so I think that will require some work from some of us on the commission to make sure that we, are getting voices in the room that need to be there. But I don't see how we can come up with any good recommendations without thinking creatively about who needs to be in the room. And then, the end goal really is to come up with a set of recommendations. And I don't have anything specific in mind right now, but, I think, what I see coming out of this is a set of recommendations, some of which might be really big, along the lines of potentially, changing a zoning ordinance or a significant investment in an upcoming budget, some of which might be really small, all right? I think what I'd like to do is, in this, or what I see this, and Commissioner Yang can jump in if I'm misrepresenting anything, but I'd like to see us, think about this issue of housing, but specifically from an equity standpoint, right? Like, how do we ensure equal access to housing, not just more housing, right? Or not just housing developed in a particular way, but really putting front and center this idea that housing is a right that everybody should have, and putting our city at the forefront of, advocating for that. So that's really what I think we're trying to accomplish. We wanted to get the support of the other commissioners for this week. As you all know, this is Martin Luther King Jr. week. In my view, King is clearly one of the most important Americans, in our history, because he fused the struggle for racial justice with the idea that everybody is entitled to economic security. And I think that's what we're trying to do on this commission. So I think it would be really great if we could get support for this, and then, put out a press release showing that, this is something the commission believes strongly in, and something that, we want to work and find out more about and advocate for. So I'll leave it there. If folks have questions, I think either of us are happy to answer them, but that's kind of my pitch.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Shelton, for sharing. I think this is something that's really important, and I think this is a good first step for us to, as commissioners. I think ultimately, what my hopes for this would be is to be able to make sure that whatever funding that we have is allocated fairly and equally. And so, after the press release that Commissioner Shelton spoke briefly about, we would start planning and coordinating these public hearings. And it's a time for us to learn and also to engage with the public. So we would learn from some experts, and we would learn what the problems are really out there from the public. And then my hopes is that we can put together some type of recommendation, and that there's action with that recommendation, not just a piece of paper, but policies will be changed or actions will be taken. But yes, I would love to hear any of your thoughts or questions that you guys have on this proposal. Feel free to know if you think, if you have another idea, or if you think that, housing isn't the priority. We'd love to hear it.
Commissioner Yang, in reading through some of the documentation provided in the proposal, there was some content which highlighted the cost of housing in the region. And so my question for the commissioners would be, do we have any intention of discussing, for example, minimum wage or raising minimum wage in this area, or plans to at least explore that as an option for the community?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I don't think that we went into details about that, about wage, but I think that is an issue that is associated with this housing crisis as well. So that is something that we should talk about, and that we can add into this proposal too.
It looks like Commissioner Ortiz has her hand raised.
Oh, sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
Thank you, Commissioner Shelton. I just had a couple of comments. I think that something that is of my particular interest is to narrow the gap in institutions like the major or the city of Green Bay and the public, right? And I think that that should be a central role of this commission, you know, how to make people who feel disengaged or people who feel vulnerable in our community, how they feel that what can we do to ensure that they see that the institutions are working for them. In that regard, one of the things that I think I would like to see is to give some visibility of this commission, whether it's all of our faces and our names and maybe a brief bio and the languages that we speak appear on the City of Green Bay a webpage, or and then that we list what we're working on. For instance, if housing is what we are going to start working on, say this is the commission, this is our goal, this is who we are with our faces and with our names, last names, and maybe even an email, that we can receive comments in different languages, you know. I think that that's important for the type of constituents that we're trying to reach and to make sure that their voices are heard and then you know, because I think that I'm not sure how many people know outside of this group that we exist and what our intentions are and what the major intentions are by appointing us. I think that that message should be clear. You know, I watched video of the recording of the last meeting, which unfortunately I missed because of some connectivity issues. But I thought that the exercise that you all have in trying to, you know, come up with what do you think you're doing, you know, by serving in this commission was an important one, because we all have to create that sense of not only the task that the mayor gave us, but a common goal, you know. And so I would like to, I mean, I think that I read the document. I think it's very, very good, but there are some preliminaries that I think that we need to work on. And one is visibility and sending the message that this group of people are here to bridge or to help the community, you know, feel represented or better represented by the city of Green Bay. And so I would like us to think about that. I know that there are several people here who speak different languages, you know, and I know that there's some people who will never raise a complaint or will never say that because they think that they don't have the right to do so, because, you know, they don't feel confident speaking in English, or they don't feel like they feel the institutions belong only to a certain type of people. I think it would be very, very important for us to publicize who we are. And so that's kind of like a preliminary before we start the work on the housing, and you know, and calling for instance, doing a press release. If we already have something that, you know, page of the city, and, you know, if we have made certain attempts to reach out and to show who we are to the people, I think that was my comment.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, Commissioner Ortiz. I think you brought up a lot of great points. There are people in the community who don't feel comfortable attending these because it's been ingrained in them not to raise the voice or talk about concerns. So you're absolutely right about that. And I think creating awareness about the Equal Rights Commission is something that needs to be done, and that maybe hopefully this press release would be that introduction into to the public about our commission. But I do hear that on your point where do we have the same common goal? And so I'm hoping tonight we can establish one common goal, which is to move forward with housing, the housing crisis. And so and there's another point that you brought up about some people don't when they're not used to speaking up or coming in person to voice their opinions. I think we have that option where you could write to the city, but probably not enough people know about that option. So I think that's something that we can also make sure that we add into this proposal, that if you don't feel comfortable coming in person or joining virtually, then you can also write into. Any thoughts on that, Commissioner Shelton?
No, I mean, I completely agree with everything Commissioner Ortiz said. And I mean, I think probably, we could ask Joe or Ahmad if it's possible to, basically do what Commissioner Ortiz suggests, right? I mean, I think it's absolutely essential. I mean, there are very few institutions in Green Bay that are as representative of the community as, right? And so I think we should absolutely be highlighting that.
Yeah, are you talking about having like a webpage dedicated to the Equal Rights Commission and contact information and some of the things that you're working on? Yeah, I'll reach out to Ahmad in the mayor's office. I'm trying to pull up our website right now just to kind of look at it. I wonder if we have other commissions on here.
You can, if you go to government, you can see commissions and members on it. I believe that you may have been asked for your photos, contact information, etc. That is on there. If what you're asking for, we could, if it's asked by this committee to have a more robust and dynamic web presence so that people can be more accessible or have more access to you and the things that you're working on. I think that's absolutely something that we could bring in, and we could bring Shelby in, and we could have a conversation about what that would look like for you all. Would that be bios? Would that be in multiple languages? Just so you do know that our website both does two things. One, for those who might have a variety of disabilities, it allows for things to be texted and or written or spoken. So our website is compatible with a variety of experiences with disabilities. And the website is currently all translatable into about, I want to say 7 to 10 languages. And you can access that when you go to the website, and you can ask for it to be in Spanish, Hmong, Vietnamese, etc. So those two things already do exist, but I do think it may be underreported and misunderstood. So, us doing a better job of telling that story would be helpful. But we can, if you want to do the website, what we can do is bring Shelby in the next meeting and talk about what you would want to see there, so that we could have a more robust public presence.
Yeah, Ahmad, what I was going to say, looking at the website right now, we do have a web page. I don't think there needs to be any like formal action taken by the commission. I think we could either talk to commission, like send out some emails and just figure out what we want the webpage to look like, what type of information. I know Commissioner Ortiz already talked about some of that. I just don't think formal action needs to be taken, but we definitely can make the webpage pretty it up a little bit more than what we have right now. Right now, it just lists the commissioners that we have, and we can add like a description, some things that they're working on, contact information, things like that. And other commissions have more of a description than what we have right now for the Equal Rights Commission.
And what about putting something like if we decide to move forward with this, like in the press release that emphasizes the number of languages that people speak, on the commission, right? So that if there are people in the community that want to, they know that there's somebody on the commission that they can speak to in a different language.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know the level of comfort with the rest of the members of the commission, but I think a picture of all of us as a group, and then with our names, which are already public information, but then I don't mind putting, you can email me or write to me in Spanish, and somebody can say, you can, email me or write to me if you want to come, as a member of this commission, if you have any concern, any issues that, you can do it in Spanish. My intention is, how can we bridge those distances that sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I perceive that people have with institutions, right? So we want to make sure that we act as a link, that strengthens the relationship between the citizens and the city of Green Bay. And so I think that having a picture of all of us, saying what the commission is about, what is our mission, and then inviting people to contact us and say, you can do so in the following languages if you want, and if each commissioner who speak another language can list that by their name. That's just an idea,
So I think maybe Joe, this question might be answered by you, but so say that we did approve of this proposal, could we get something done next month or the next 2 to 3 weeks to spruce up the page? Because I do see it's just a list of our names and how long we're on the commission. So if we can add some more details like that before we host these events, do you think that would be helpful, Commissioner Ortiz? I absolutely think it'd be helpful too, but going back to what Commissioner Shelton was saying, I think that's also very important to add into the press release, that we do speak multiple languages and we communicate, we can communicate, not just in English. So yeah, I think that'd be really important to add to that.
Yeah, I think a 2 to 3 week timeline to update the webpage is not unreasonable at all, and we can do that.
Great, thank you. So then would you need us to send a bio to you, just a short bio to you? Are we just sending a picture, or what would that entail?
Yeah, that's completely up to the commission. If everyone wants to do a bio and with a picture, that'd be great. And then I'm not sure if Raya maybe wants to help work on the description of the commission too, can work with the commissioners on that. And then if maybe there's something in the press release about, the commission, I guess I was going to say something about a link to the housing initiative, but we'll add that to the webpage as well as something that the commission is working on.
Great, awesome, thank you. Any other thoughts from other commissioners?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
I want to thank both you and Commissioner Sheldon for bringing this proposal forward. I like what you have here. I definitely think, absolutely working with the city. There's a lot of information there and what they've done over the years to help with the situation, as well as other nonprofits. Definitely need to get them at the table to see, what they've seen over the years, the issues that have arisen in their micro communities. Like the idea of having also residents come forward and, hopefully participate, so that we can understand, what issues, what concerns they have as well, what they've encountered in trying to gain access to quality housing in the city. I think we're going to definitely learn a lot. Have we looked at other larger municipalities? Like, have we looked at Milwaukee and Madison and Wausau and places like that to see what they've done as a commission, what they've encountered? I think that would be worth looking into. Maybe want to piggyback off of some of the things that they've done. I don't necessarily know that I want to add policy regarding increasing the minimum wage. I don't know. I realize that, the 2 and 2 go together, having a what's the term that I'm looking for?
Affordable, or
Yeah, having having a I'm totally blanking on the term that I'm looking for, but having a higher minimum wage, a decent salary ties into what you can afford for affordable housing. I realize those two go hand in hand, but saying that, we want to see the minimum wage in the city of Green Bay be $15. I don't know how much buy-in you're going to get from a council to make that happen. I'm going to be honest right there with you. So I think we deal with the housing definitely. If we can work on the minimum wage, that'd be great. But I also think that we should keep that separate, as a separate issue. Again, I realize the two go hand in hand, but I think it's going to be easier for us to, if we do see policy changes that need to take effect because of what we've uncovered with, public meetings and working with other nonprofits, making that as simple as possible, we'll have a better chance of making change.
Yes, thank you for sharing, Alder Corpus Dax. I think those are very valid points, and I do see where that can be conflicting, housing and then talking about minimum wage there. And like you also alluded to, they do associate with each other. And so, I think for these public hearings, we keep it as open as possible. So if someone does bring that up, we take it into consideration. And we do take note of it, but as far as policy making, creating some type of a report for the council, I do think that we need to separate those two. And then also going back to looking at other municipalities and other commissions and their work and what has worked or hasn't worked. I think that's absolutely brilliant that we should do that. So, I mean, do any of the commissioners here have suggestions? Do you guys think maybe we should invite one of the experts to one of these public hearings? Or, I mean, not experts, one of, a representative from one of these municipalities to speak on their experiences, or how do you guys think that we can incorporate that as well, or is that something that we do separately?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, I wanted to piggyback on what every commissioner has said about housing. First of all, it is a timely conversation, and it's one that actually needs priority number one, in my opinion. We are talking about equitable access to housing. So that by itself, by definition, we have to, it's not just one thing that creates equality. It's multifaceted. So thinking that housing is going to be racial, or is it economical, or is it, those kind of binary definition is not going to be solving our problem. So it's going to be, we have a baseline data available on our midst so that we can be able to see. And those kind of hearings, public hearings, is going to help us put the story behind the numbers. So what is it that we don't know, that as a commissioners we want to understand, so that we can have a clear recommendation for the city of Green Bay. And in that respect, then we can be able to, as Commissioner Tara said, look for best practices. So there are, for example, I can give you one example. Refugees and immigrants don't have a clear rental history. They are new into the country, they don't have rental history, they're denied access. I speak this horrible accent, I denied access. And the rest is also equal, like, I can call myself other definitions. So it's not just one size fits all. Some of them, cannot be able to, we can say, for example, from where I stand, or from what we have gathered, there are members of the community members who just live by one income, and the partner cannot be able to work because there's no culturally customized childcare. So in that respect, there's correlation between housing and childcare. So I think for me, I see that as a multifaceted, multi-approached challenge or a problem to face. And having that data available and creating these individual groups of people coming and testifying and speaking about the challenges they see on a daily basis is going to give us, once we have all this data available, then it's going to give us, as a commissioners, a way to think about what can we, then we have the data, then what can we put together? Where can we go from there then? So at this stage, we can't really preempt what kind of solutions we are going to be enacting or crafting or innovating. At this stage, I think it's going to be putting the call out there and wait for more voices coming forward, so that we will have more data to use for our decision making.
Thank you, Commissioner Hassan. I think you brought up very, very important points. You're right, there's so many things that go hand in hand with housing. And so it's good that we open it up to the public to hear what their issues are, so that we can prioritize what is the heaviest that the public is, what's the hardest thing that the public is facing with housing. And so I think these public hearings, like you said, are very important, and I agree with that. Like you said, it stories behind numbers. And so I hope that these public hearings will give us that, and also will, we can learn and educate ourselves from the different experts as well. But thank you for that. I think as far as, talking about going back to refugees and the communities that you serve, I am hoping that at these public hearings, we can get communities that aren't used to coming out and voicing their opinions. I'm hoping that, like how Commissioner Ortiz stated before, we are trying to fill that gap. We're making sure that the community feels that they are part of the city. So I'm hoping that we as commissioners can be the ones to gather our communities to come to these public hearings and make sure we hear what their issues are. So yeah, I am happy to hear that you are on board 100%.
So would it be appropriate for me as vice chair to make a motion that we move forward with this plan? I don't know if the vice chair is not supposed to do that, but I'll just ask.
No, anyone can make the motion.
Okay, all right. Well, typically a chair doesn't make motions, right? So, yeah.
Well,
So
the chair can too, but yeah, it's usually someone else does.
Yeah, okay, I'll move that we endorse as the Equal Rights Commission this plan.
All right. So motion by Commissioner Shelton to move forward with this proposal. Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Hassan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Great. And then all not in favor, please say nay. Great. So thank you, everyone. So today this proposal stands approved and we will move forward. And so the next steps will be to work with, I believe, Ahmad on getting that the press release written and sent out. And then we will work on the updates on the commission website or commission page. And then from there, I want to make sure that we also work diligently and together for these next few steps for these events so that it's organized for the public. I think the last thing that I want is for us to introduce ourselves to the public and have it be super unorganized and have people confused. So I really want to make sure that we have commitment from our commissioners to work together to get these events coordinated and executed.
Mhm.
So with that being said, if there's no further comments or questions, I guess we can move forward with adjourning the meeting tonight.
We
Motion
have
to adjourn.
informational still?
Yeah, we do have one informational item. Yeah,
Oh,
it's,
sorry, excuse me.
that's okay. We don't have any attachments or anything, but yeah, thank you, Alder Corpus Stacks. Raya will be sending some information out on the Human Rights Campaign scorecard. It'll be like the scorecard itself, some information about it. Either it might be a link to the website or just a little bit more detail on it. And then also the application that we submitted last year. So what the mayor and the city was hoping the commissioners could do would be to review that information. And then at the next meeting, I know this will be kind of in tandem a little bit, but have some recommendations for the city and how to improve the score in the Human Rights Campaign scorecard.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Okay, is it safe to say to get the motion for that adjournment? Okay, so we got a motion from Commissioner Shelton, right? Is that correct?
Second.
Okay, and the second from Alder Corpus Stacks. All right, so any all in favor, please say aye.
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 All not, great. All not in favor, please say nay. All right, well, thank you, everyone. The meeting is adjourned. Coming to this meeting, I know it was quite last minute, but I hope that this will give us a good start to the new year as commissioners. So I really appreciate all of your time.
Thank you.
Buddy,
Thank
good
you
to
very
see you.
much.
Have a good week.